Like all great progressive ideas, they are conceived in darkness and forced upon us through deception. Welcome to Gale Force.
From deep inside Bunker Foxtrot, located somewhere under the swamps of Central Florida, it's Gale Force.
Welcome everybody. I'm JD.
And I'm Gail.
How you doing today?
I'm doing very good.
It's Sunday. It's February 17th,
Yes.
2019. Boy, has time glide.
Yeah.
Glide.
Seems like just yesterday you and I both had dark colored hair.
Yeah, look at that. At least I'm growing mine a little bit. Welcome everybody. I'm JD again with my partner here, Gail. And welcome to Gale Force. You can find us on BitTube under Gale Force. You can find us under Steemit under Every Bit Matters. And speaking of Every Bit Matters, we're also on Facebook. Just do a search for Every Bit Matters, or you do search for Bring Back Liberty. That's what it's under Facebook. And of course here on YouTube under Gale Force Creations. And we welcome you to the show. Before we get to our main theme, which is the Fed, we're going to give you a quick breakdown on the Fed and the greatest theft in history. It was brought to you not by the Democrats, as you would think, but actually by the Republicans. So today we get to bash on Republicans.
Okay.
Yeah, but before we do that, there's some
fair and balanced.
Fair and balanced. That's it. Don't go there because everybody said we watch Fox. Look, we just want you to think for yourself.
I haven't watched Fox in years.
Yeah, every once in a while I read their page. Just I read everything.
For a good laugh.
Yeah. I like a good laugh. That's why you're watching the show, because we're going to try to get some good laughs. But before, we got some news out there. Something about auto loans. What the hell's going on with auto loans?
There's getting to be a large default in auto loans. Some areas is 20%. Some areas is 25%.
So these people are taking out loans.
Right.
They go to the bank and they say, look, I want to buy a new car. And the car dealership says, oh, no problem. You're good. Just give us a little bit down or whatever. We'll make your first payment. You don't have to pay us for 6 months or whatever.
But we'll pay off your old car.
Yeah, 1 in 4 loans for automobiles are now in default. Not a good sign. And this kind of reminds me of 2000. What happened in 2008? There was something else that happened. People were defaulting on.
Home loans.
Home loans.
Yeah, the no income, no job, you're okay.
And that
balloon payment.
And that brought us almost to a collapse.
We were within a couple hours of the whole system.
And this was during a presidential election. Matter of fact, I remember John McCain had to fly back to Washington to make sure that the banks didn't go under because of house loans. But now car loans are under, which is not a good sign. And something else is happening in California with houses. What's happening in California?
Housing starts in California, the land of fruits and nuts. It's the housing starts are down by 20%, between 20 to 30%, depending on what town you go to.
So that's kind of like what's going on with the car loans. I mean, they're not building houses.
It's the beginning of a collapse.
Yeah. And so we're going to, it's not really a conspiracy theory. We're kind of into conspiracies. If you check out our channel on YouTube, Gale Force Creations, we're going to make a playlist and we're going to have some conspiracy theories in there.
Yeah.
But now we're going to talk about the biggest theft that has ever been brought on man, and that's the Fed. So can you kind of give us a quick history? I mean, Gail is kind of into this stuff. He's into conspiracy theories, but I don't think we're talking about conspiracy theories now.
No,
we're talking about
conspiracy fact.
So, real quick before I let Gail go off in the Fed, we're going to kind of give you a synopsis of why the Fed was created. Back in the late 1800s
Correct.
and early 1900s, there wasn't a federal dollar. There
were some treasury notes.
There were some treasury notes, but banks, there were pretty much local banks would create their own currency because in the real quick, let's go in the Constitution. Let's see if I had this. In the Constitution, what did it say? It says that you should only have gold and silver.
Correct.
Okay. And the reason that the founders wanted only gold and silver, because they knew if you had paper money or debt money, that it would create problems. And they didn't want to create debt for our future generations. So in the Constitution, it says money should be gold or silver.
Correct.
Okay. And banks back in the 1800s and 1900s, like you said, if you needed $100, you didn't want to walk around with $100 silver in your pocket. That
Yeah,
was kind of
that's heavy.
that was kind of inconvenient. So what they did is they said, we'll give you a piece of paper that says that you have
A silver
a
certificate.
silver certificate that says, look, in our bank, you have $100 worth of silver.
Correct, and it can be redeemed.
And it can be redeemed. So instead of carrying around 100 coins, you could carry around a certificate that said, I have 100 coins, it's in a bank. But it was only kind of local.
Right.
So, if a guy in San Francisco got a silver certificate saying, look, I got $100 in silver at this bank, he couldn't really go to New York and buy something with that note because they would look at it and said, well, you probably do, but it's only a piece of paper and we don't accept that.
How would a bank in New York redeem it for silver or gold?
Yeah, exactly.
From California.
From California. So the problem was you couldn't trade efficiently in one state from another state. So a group of people were invited to a secret meeting. And where was this secret meeting held?
Jekyll Island.
Jekyll Island, of all places, they decided to meet at Jekyll Island. I mean, we all know the
Jekyll
book,
and Hyde.
Jekyll and Hyde. So they picked Jekyll Island, and what were their intentions? Like you said,
Well,
they
like
have
I
good
said,
intentions.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and their intentions were to centralize things so that you had a unification from East Coast to West Coast, everywhere in between, so that banks would
recognize
each other. See, what actually happened in 2008 is we had a credit freeze.
Yeah.
One bank refused to lend money to another bank. Let's say you had a Bank of America.
Yep.
And they were running low on cash, so they got a hold of a Chase Bank. Hey, can you lend us $100,000 overnight? One bank didn't trust another bank, and you had a credit freeze up. So it was actually a credit freeze is what actually happened. Yes, it was the loans and stuff.
Yeah.
But the problem with the banks was the banks
didn't trust other banks.
They wouldn't trust each other.
Yeah, and that's what happened back in the early 1900s.
Right, they were having a credit freeze.
Again, as we saw in the Constitution, the founding fathers said there should only be gold and silver coins.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, they did accept copper coins for small denominations, but
so back in Jekyll Island, back in probably 1911, 1912, I'm not sure with the dates. Again, don't trust us. Do your own research. We're kind of here to show you how to think for yourself, because just don't take what other people say. Like, I really hate.
Just because it's a theory doesn't make it a conspiracy.
Yeah, I argue with liberals, and they get to the point where they just start calling you names.
Oh, they come up with a bunch of facts from something.
So let's get back to the Fed. So back in 1911, there was no central bank. There was no central money. There was gold and silver, but people didn't want to walk around with gold and silver because easily detected you could be robbed. So not a bunch, 6 or 7 people got together for a secret meeting in Jekyll Island. And the idea behind this meeting was, banks aren't trusted. Nobody can take their money from one state to another and do business because they don't recognize the
And what happens if a local bank in a small town in the middle of the farm country, there's a bad year for crops, so the loans that they loan out to the farmers, that particular bank itself couldn't produce funds for their depositors.
Yeah.
So they had to have a system where the banks could loan money back and forth between each other. And then the idea, because the people at Jekyll Island just weren't nobody. They were not only big banks, but there was also a couple international things in there, like people from the Rothschilds or whoever it is that really runs the world.
Yeah, so let's go through real quick. It was like 6 or 7 people got together in a little room in Georgia, and they wanted to create not only a central bank for America, but they were coming up with a scheme.
Correct.
To get worldwide control
adoption of central banking system
of money.
so that you could also have international trade.
Trade, yeah. I mean, like you said, the intentions was good, but it didn't work out. So some of the members of the Fed, I mean, of the special meeting, is we know that there was a representative from J.P. Morgan,
Right.
a big
The Rockefeller
capitalist,
family, the Rothschild family.
The Rothschilds were there, and there was a Republican senator.
Yeah.
Do not recall his name. You can search it. Matter of fact, there's a great video called the Creature of Jekyll Island.
Yeah.
We'll put a link in the description below. If you look below, we'll put a link down there. You need to watch this, The Creature from Jekyll Island. So a couple people got together, 6 or 7 people, and they wanted to create a worldwide central bank, even though they didn't want to call that. They knew that if they called it a central bank,
correct,
that it wouldn't pass Congress.
No, absolutely, because Andrew Jackson, they tried a central bank.
Yeah. And
because of the way they worded it, the way they're setting it up, Andrew Jackson, he actually got in a duel, and they tried to assassinate him, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. To do a central bank.
Right.
Yeah. And the founders were scared of a central bank. They figured at one time it would be paper money and it would be based on debt, and they didn't want that. Again, as we see in the Constitution, they just wanted gold and silver. Okay.
Well, that's because America is nothing more than, in those times, were European refugees.
Yes.
And they were escaping debt prison. See, there was supposed to be no debt prison.
Yes.
There's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, because they had debt prisons back then. If you didn't,
it's called debtor's prison.
If you couldn't pay your debt, they'd throw you in jail until you could either pay your debt or
die in jail.
Or you stayed in jail. Yeah, there was a thing called debtor's jail.
Debtor's prison.
Yeah.
And so that's why they were afraid of fiat currency and different controls.
And they just went through it with the war because they had the Continental dollar or whatever, and they just kept printing and printing because we tried to fight the war.
Correct.
And by the end of the war, the money was worthless because they just kept printing it and printing it. So the founders were really scared of fiat money, which is. Do you have some fiat money handy there? Yeah. What is that? That's fiat money, people. That's not money. This is currency. Okay, it's not money. There's a difference between money.
It says Federal Reserve note.
Yeah, let's see if we can get that in there. Oops, okay. Let's try you. Yeah.
Federal Reserve note.
It's a note. It's a promissory note saying.
Oh, a promissory note is debt.
Debt. Okay. So the guys at Jekyll Island, they had their intention was good, but maybe there was something behind it that was a little evil. Okay, and they knew that if they went to Congress and said, look, we want to create a central bank, there's no way Congress would pass that.
Absolutely.
Because they were scared of banks already. And if they had a central bank, they knew that it eventually would get out of hand.
Yeah, there would be a power grab, and they're afraid of a power grab.
But the people at Jekyll Island finally formed the Federal Reserve. And all they had to do now is get it passed in Congress. Mm-hmm. So they did it using deception.
Very devious.
It was great. They brought up the bill. The Republican brought up the bill and said, we'd like to create the Federal Reserve System. Again, it's not federal, had nothing to do with the government. There's no reserves. This was a bank that would start with $0.
Correct.
Okay. But it would print money backed by gold. But they knew it was going to be a debt system, that the debt has to keep going on. And if you want to learn more about that, we'll put the link below also, because we have a quick clip. I just want to show you a quick clip from Mike Maloney.
Good guy.
And this is about the founders and why they wanted to have just gold and silver or gold and silver backed dollar. So real quick, let's watch this video, and we'll just let it play for a second, and we'll be right back. Well, maybe we'll show the video. Now it's not working. All right. Yeah, that's how we do this show. This show. Let's try it one more time. Okay, so we don't have the video. Always something. But But the way they passed the Federal Reserve System is the Republican put in the bill, and of course,
Was it? Let me ask you a quick question. I
yeah,
hate to interrupt you.
yeah,
Was it the same Republican that introduced the bill?
I believe it was.
Well,
I'm not sure.
I think there was one Republican that introduced the bill, but another one that fought against it.
That's the point I was getting to. He was actually at the meeting, the Republican senator, and he was part of Jekyll Island. And they knew that if they just put the bill out there to get a central bank, it wouldn't go through.
Right.
So they came up with a way to deceive the people in order to get the central bank. And the way they did it was just how politics works.
Oh.
They introduced the bill. And of course, the Democrats say, no way, we don't want a central bank. How in the hell, why are you even bringing this up? Well, he finally said, well, look, I understand. I don't like this bill either. Somebody came to me and said, we want to make this Federal Reserve. And at first I was for it, but now I'm against it. There's no way I want to pass this bill.
It's going to ruin business.
It's going to ruin business. There's going to be a big bank takeover, and nobody wants this. Well, of course, the Democrats at the time were against the Republicans because the Republicans were for big business. They wanted, they liked J.P. Morgan, they liked Carnegie, and all these people. Well, the Democrats finally thought, well, if the Republicans don't want this bill, if the guy that introduced it all of a sudden doesn't want it, well, maybe it is something we want.
Right.
So the Democrats looked at the bill and said, you know what? Yeah, maybe this is a good idea to have a $1 bill or whatever,
And centralized banking system.
Yeah, so as the Republican who was in the meeting all of a sudden said he was against it, he doesn't want this. This is, a mistake because they kept adding on to the bill like they always do. We need to pass the bill to see what's in it. We all know how that works, The Democrats finally said, well, if he doesn't want his own bill, this must be something that's really good. So the Democrats finally passed the Federal Reserve Act in 1913. Well, what else passed that year? Wasn't there a constitutional amendment that passed in 1913?
I think it was called the Internal Revenue Service.
Yeah. In the Constitution, it says you can't have a direct tax on people. So they couldn't create the income tax because it was unconstitutional. You couldn't just directly tax somebody just because they have money. I mean, that's something the founders put in the Constitution. No direct tax. So they had to pass a new amendment. They had to amend the Constitution and said, well, the founding fathers might have got this wrong. So we're going to introduce the income tax.
Not property tax.
Not property tax and income tax. And we're only going to tax the top 1%. The rest of the people, they don't need to be taxed. Okay? And actually, when they passed the income tax in 1913, they wanted to put a cap on it and said, we'll only cap it at 3%. We'll never tax more than 3% of the top 1%. But then some senators got together and said, well, look, if we put a cap on it at 3%, they'll immediately raise it to 3% and take that 3% from the 1%.
Right.
So they said, no, we don't want a cap on income tax because the government will, of course, go right to it. So they took out the cap. And now what is it?
I don't know.
50%, 30%, 22%, and now Alexandria wants to raise it to 70%.
Yeah.
They screwed up by not putting a cap in there. They should have put the cap in there and left it, but they didn't. So when the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, magically the IRS was created in 1913. Because the Federal Reserve system, everybody thinks it's a bank. They think it's a federal bank. But when it opened, it had $0 of deposits. So here's a bank that's going to control all your money, control money and trade. It started with $0.
Correct.
So how does the Fed kind of work? Any idea? I mean, once we got the Fed, back in the old days, $1 was worth $1. I wish I had $1. You need to give me $1 so I can play with it. Matter of fact, you got a silver dollar? Can I have one of those silver dollars? We're going to show you something here. It's going to blow your mind. But, back in 1913, your dollar was worth 100 cents. I mean, you could get $1's worth, and it was equal to this. You could buy silver with $1. Amazing back then. And we're going to show you a presentation in just a second. But the Federal Reserve started with $0, and they wanted to create $1 that was good in every state, and get all the banks together and say, hey, listen, instead of making your own money, even though it was backed by silver and gold, let's just go to the dollar.
Now, the backed by silver and gold is because the Treasury had the silver and gold for doing coins.
That's true. We actually had silver and gold.
The Treasury actually had silver and gold. That's why the old notes said silver certificate, or the bigger notes said gold certificate, and you could take them to a bank.
There was a claim on your gold or your silver.
And you could go to a bank, and for years, for a few years anyway, you could go to a bank and actually take a $1 silver certificate.
One of these, because it said on the bottom, silver certificate.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't anymore.
And you could actually go into a bank and redeem it for 1 ounce of silver.
Yeah.
Or a silver dollar.
So, again, we're going to go back to the Fed and how they steal your money. So remember, the Fed was not created by the federal government.
No.
The Fed was created by a bunch of bankers,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of big capitalists, or companies,
corporate bigwigs.
Corporate bigwigs. So the Federal Reserve finally is signed into law, and we're going to have a homogeneous banking system to where everybody can pass their money back.
That way, if there's a big earthquake in California, we can shift money to the banks in California. Or if there's a hurricane in Florida, we can shift money to the Federal Reserve Bank in Miami.
And the whole idea behind the Federal Reserve was to make it easier for people to
travel and trade. And transition and trade.
Yeah. You got to remember, and I keep putting this out, that we're not 50 states. We're actually 50 countries under one army.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I look at it. We're not 50 states. We're 50 countries.
By the original Constitution, yes, we were.
Yeah. And, and just like when you go to Europe, you have to trade money. If you went to Germany, you had to get marks. If you went to Italy, you had to get lira or whatever. Right. And they came up with the euro.
Yeah.
So you just could spend money anywhere. But that's how it was in the United States. You had money from different states, and it wasn't good in other states because they didn't trust it.
Right.
So they thought, we'll go with the Federal Reserve. We'll name it Federal so it sounds like it's a government company.
Correct.
We'll say it's reserve even though they have no reserves.
Only the Treasury had reserves.
And it's actually it's a system to steal your money. And we'll show you how that's done in just a second. So the Federal Reserve is finally signed into law. At the same time, you have the income tax.
Mm-hmm.
And we went into what's called fractional
reserve banking.
Can you give us an idea how that works?
Fractional reserve. If you were to take and deposit $100 into a savings account or bank account,
mm-hmm.
actually a savings account, and then the bank could loan out $900 on your $100.
Yeah, they only had to put $10 away.
Correct.
In case you need money, but they hope you don't because
right.
you're putting it in the bank for a savings account.
So
but they could loan out the rest.
They could loan out 9 times whatever you had on deposit.
Yeah, and they didn't have the money in the bank.
No, it's just on paper.
Just on paper. And again,
and then charge interest on it.
And they charge interest on it. And again, I want you to go below and watch Mike Maloney. He's got a series about money, and it shows
the creation of money.
Yeah, and we're based on debt because the bank will just keep loaning this money out so you can buy a car, so you can buy a house, you get a credit card.
Hold up that dollar. Okay, if that dollar is borrowed into existence, to pay it off, you need another dollar.
Yeah.
It is a continuous debt cycle.
Yeah.
That you can never stop.
You can never stop, and that's how they steal your money. We're all in debt, and that's why right now we're $22 trillion in debt. Our government's
minimum
20. Yeah, that's just what's on paper. It's hundreds.
That's what's on the open balance books.
It's hundreds of trillions of dollars, and they pay off the old debt, and then they create new debt. And they pay off the old debt, and a lot of people think that our money goes to the army, our money goes to roads. Most of the money that the government brings in on taxes is to pay old debt and interest
Correct.
on money they got from the Treasury that the Treasury got from the Federal Reserve, even though the Federal Reserve started with $0.
All the money's not going to military. All the money's not going to welfare checks and food stamps.
It's
Probably
going to paying
90
off
cents.
interest.
Probably 90 cents out of every dollar taken in taxes goes to pay the interest.
The interest. We're not even paying the
to
principal.
service the old debt.
Yeah. And now we have people like Alexandria Cortez who wants to start this Green New Deal and just get money out of thin air. Well, the government's good at giving money at thin air, but we want to show you what happens when the government gets money at thin air. We got a little presentation here, okay, of silver, dollars, and gas. And everybody says, I hate this when this happens because people don't understand economics, and we can't give you a quick explanation or how economics works. But I always hear that, like my wife, when she goes to the grocery store, she goes to buy a loaf of bread, and she says, "Well, the price of bread has gone up," and then she says, "The price of this has gone up," and people complain that the price of this has gone up. And they blame it on companies. They're saying, well, they're just greedy.
Evil corporations like Exxon.
Yeah, and they just want to raise your prices to get more money. But they don't realize that the reason the prices rise is not because the companies are greedy. It's because of inflation.
Inflation is correct.
And what is inflation? Inflation is
too many dollars. Actually, inflation is, and why the prices go up, is there's too many dollars chasing too few goods.
Commodities. Yeah.
Commodities.
They're flooding
the market with
paper. Okay. And we're going to show you this. This is really cool. We went back to, what was it, 1964?
Yes.
That's what it was. Let me find it here. Yeah, silver. Okay. We went back to 1964. Okay. And we looked up the price of gas. Okay. And we're going to use gas because everybody pretty much buys gas. And right now, gas is, we'll take an average.
About $2.25.
And everybody says, well, gas keeps going up. It's because of these greedy companies.
Maybe even $2.50.
Yeah, they want to make all this money. The companies are greedy. Well, we're going to show you that the price of gas, believe it or not, has gone down. Okay? You don't believe me? Right now, gas is at $2.50, and you're saying, no way, because I remember buying it at 20 cents a gallon. I remember I had my motorcycle.
25 cents a gallon.
Yeah, I had a couple quarters with me. I could throw it in there. I could fill my gas tank up on a motorcycle. And gas was 20 cents a gallon. So we're going to go back to 1964. So here's our presentation. I'll see if I can follow it. I think I got it. You ready?
There we go.
Hang on. I need a shot of me first because I need to lubricate. Welcome, everybody. You're listening to Gail Force, by the way. Gail Force Creations at YouTube. And you can join us. We're going to explain how inflation works, okay? And it's not greedy companies. So hang on. That was good. Okay, here we go. So back in 1964, you see a silver dollar there. And gas, you can see, was probably about 20 cents a gallon.
20 to
25 cents. And there's a dollar. See that dollar there? It was the same as that coin, that silver coin. You could take that dollar and buy that silver coin, and you could buy 5 gallons of gas.
Yeah, 4 to 5 gallons of gas.
Okay, here we are today. Another silver dollar, same as that. Okay, but today you can buy almost 6 gallons of gas. Before you could only buy 4 or 5 gallons of gas with that coin. But how many dollars does it take to buy that coin?
$16.
There's $16. You see that, folks? I'm gonna point to it. No, the other way. Right there. Oh, let's go. See that? Up here, it took $1 to buy
4 gallons
of gas, or instead of buying gas, you could buy that coin, that silver coin, for $1. Okay. Now I'm gonna point down this way.
Oh, all right, I'll do that.
No, other way. Yeah. See, we're new at this. Okay. Now this is a same silver dollar. It's not the same one, but it's a silver dollar.
It's 1 ounce of silver.
Okay, it's 1 ounce of silver. It's not $1. But that 1 ounce of silver, which is the same as the one up top here, which could buy 4 gallons of gas, can now buy 6
6.
gallons of gas. So the silver, if you had silver money, gas would be cheaper.
Correct.
Correct. But look how many dollar bills it takes.
$16.
Why does it take $16 instead of $1? I want y'all people to think about that for a second. Back in 1964, that $1 bill right there could buy you either 4 gallons of gas or a silver dollar. But today, bink, that same silver, an ounce of silver, could buy you 6 gallons of gas. So that means gas went down, right? Am I doing that right? The price of gas actually has gone.
Compared to silver, the price of gas is down.
But it takes how many dollars?
16.
16 of these pieces of paper to buy the same thing that you could buy with one piece of paper back in 1964. Do you understand? Let me go back to the camera here. Do you understand that the Fed is stealing your money through inflation? It's not companies. It's the Fed that is stealing your money. Okay? They do it through what's called inflation. And only government can do inflation. And the way they do it is they have to print more money to cover that debt.
Right.
Okay? And as we just showed you, that the silver, if we would have kept with silver and gold, the price hasn't changed. It's actually gone down, but it takes more of these damn things to buy what you want.
And the reason it was in the Constitution is because you can print money.
That's it. You couldn't print.
You have to
silver
go
and
bust
gold.
your back to dig silver and gold out of the ground.
Yeah.
It's a representation of labor.
And people don't realize that in the Constitution it said just gold and silver. Just like roads. When people say we need taxes for roads, well, your taxes aren't going for roads, people. Your taxes are going to pay for the debt that the Federal Reserve has created out of zero. So, I don't know how much more we explain that. What did I miss? We had the Constitution, we had the silver, we did this, but we don't have night. Look at that, blank screen. Can we talk while we have a blank screen?
Hey, sure, we can talk out a blank screen. La 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 la.
We need. Look, we're here in the bunker, okay? And maybe that's what the problem is. And we don't have a big crew. We could use your donations. If you look below, throw us a couple Bitcoins our way, and we'll do some PayPal too. I need a PayPal account.
Yeah,
We need some more money so that we don't have this. What the hell is that? We can create better videos, but we love doing this show. Again, I'm JD with Gail. You're listening to Gail Force, and we're trying to show you that the Fed is a great scam in order to steal your money.
And who the biggest cheerleaders are the ones like AOC that's trying to convince you that the creation of more debt is going to help you.
Yeah. I was talking with Gail before the show, and I said that, the government has no money.
No.
The government can only steal money,
Correct.
take money through taxes.
Taxes.
We call it theft. I mean, if I went to my neighbor and stole his stuff, I'd be put in jail. You got to remember, whatever government gives you, if you want roads, or if you want a new theater, or if you want health care for all, or you want Medicaid for all, the government can only give that to you
by taxing you.
If they take it from somebody else.
They tax you
They have to tax
put that building up.
Or they create more debt. And the more debt we have, the heavier it gets, and at some point it collapses.
Think about this. I can't remember the exact numbers. You'll have to go search for yourself.
And that's what we want you to do. Think for yourself.
The Boston Tea Party. The whole thing that honked everybody off that was sitting around in the pubs having an ale or a rum.
Cheers.
Is they started raising the taxes.
Yeah, we went to war over 3% tax on a beverage.
3% tax on tea, of all things.
A breakfast beverage. Guys, our age went to war and younger over 3% tax. A 3% tax. And people complaining today that they didn't get a good return, that their returns were smaller. And they don't understand how that works.
Correct.
That's another show.
So And you know why they did that?
Why?
Okay, taxation without representation. In other words, you didn't vote for that tax. I didn't vote for that tax.
Where'd that tax come
But
from?
they'll tell you, oh, the debate is over. We're going to tax you.
Yeah. Over 3%.
Okay. Isn't that slavery? At what point?
That's a whole new show. We'll do a show.
At what point
on
of debt are you a slave? Because money, your dollars, is a representation of your labor.
I've always
So
called it
labor,
I've called it a savings account of your labor. That's what a dollar bill is.
but money is supposed to be a representation of your labor.
Exactly.
And you exchange your labor to buy some eggs, to buy bread. You exchange your labor to buy
It makes trade easier.
some hamburger meat.
Yeah.
So you're stealing my labor.
Yep.
And telling me, well, we voted on it. That's just too bad.
Yeah. You got to pay
At
it
what
whether you
point
like it or not.
are you a slave?
Yeah.
3%, 10%, 50%? Hell, I might as well make it 100%.
You got to remember that the founding fathers, they
Went
put
to
their,
war
they
and
put
died
their
over
lives
3%.
and their fortunes, you know, and whatever they had because they were mad over 3% tax. And now today, you know, we pay 20%, 30%. Alexandria Cortez wants to have 70%. Matter of fact, here's
$2.50 a
here's a
gallon.
picture of. Wait, we have a 1%er, and then we have Alexandria. And Bill Gates at one time, you know, just a couple of days ago, said that Alexandria wanting 70% of his money over 55 million or whatever it is.
Anything over 10 million.
Yeah, is just ridiculous. You know, that's not going to solve nothing. You're just stealing from, you know, this girl here is stealing the money from Bill Gates, not because he did something evil, because he did something good, and she just wants his money.
Right.
Okay, and that's very dangerous when you get to the point to where you make government theft legal. It's really, really dangerous, and we don't want to go there. You know, just because somebody is rich doesn't mean they have to pay.
That's a red line that they're jumping on.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I hear all the time Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, and I'm going back to the Democrats. Even though this show was about Republicans stealing our money, I'm going to go back to the Democrats. They say they need to pay their fair share. What the hell is a fair share? Can you define what fair share is? Nobody to me has defined what a fair share is. I'm willing to pay my fair share. Tell me what it is. Right now. Tell me what I went. Look, this is the funny thing. I went to my accountant, and you know it's tax time, and I said, look, I need to pay my fair share. I don't care what the paper says or whatever. I don't know what my tax bracket is or whatever, but I just want to pay my fair share. And he laughed at me. He goes, what the fuck is a fair share? I have no idea what the fucking fair share is. I go, well, look, Bertie and Alexandria tell me to pay my fair share. I want to pay my fair share. Just go on the paper, mark down and say, pay my fair share. And he's like laughing at me. What the hell's a fair share? I have no idea what a fair. Well, somebody needs, because Bernie says I'm not paying my fair share. I want to pay my fair share. Can you pay your fair share?
You have to define it. That's like today. There's what, 70 some
Define it.
definitions of a sex?
Yeah.
I mean,
how many genders are there?
Right.
No. Give me a definition.
What is fair share?
It's really easy.
I know, because a loaf of bread is $3.
Yeah.
And since we make less than $100,000 a year, $3 is okay. But if you make more than $100,000, you're supposed to pay more than $3 for the same loaf of bread. I mean, that's
it's
idiocy.
like, what the hell? Well, you're confusing us. You know, make it easy. You know, that's why they're in Congress, to make laws that are specific, that anybody can understand. Matter of fact, I was just reading what California passed new laws this year. You know how many new laws they passed this year in California?
I have no idea.
Over 1,000.
That I don't.
How are you supposed to keep track of that? Like I tell everybody, me and Gail sitting here in Bunker Foxtrot somewhere in Central Florida, we're probably breaking 20 laws right now that we don't even know because they can't define them, and they just keep adding to them. How many laws are you breaking sitting right there watching us? You're probably breaking 4 or 5 federal laws, 2 or 3 county laws, and probably a state law, because you're not supposed to have that kitten you have out back that's not in a cage or not licensed.
Right.
So there are so many laws.
And because you and I are white, we're racist and misogynist
Oh, yeah.
on top of it.
Yeah, I'm always racist.
You're
Whenever
misogynist too.
yeah, it's getting ridiculous. We're getting near the end of the show, everybody. We tried to explain the Fed. I don't know if we got to that. The Fed was thrown onto us as a way to steal your money through inflation.
And inflation is fractional reserve
banking, and that would be a whole new show. We try to keep shows under 30 minutes because we know you lose interest or whatever, but it's kind of hard to explain all this stuff really quick. But that's
Mike Maloney does a good job.
Mike Maloney, again, if you look below, we'll put a link to his series about money, and it's really good. Mike Maloney is a really great guy, and pretty much he's the one who got us to do this show because I saw some of his presentations. But we're trying to do it in a fun way, and I have a kid in college who's gone left because he went to college, and he wants all this, free stuff and socialism, and we're killing the world. We got to do the global warming, the Green New Deal, whatever, and we just want to have fun when we do these shows. We can't explain everything in 30 minutes, but we can kind of get you thinking. And it's a way to get you to come back. And the way we get you to come back is if you look right below, down here somewhere, you can subscribe to Gail Force Creations on YouTube.
And hit the notification bell.
And we would love that. And matter of fact, we're going to have some merchandise coming out pretty soon. And if you comment on our videos,
absolutely,
we watch all those comments and we try to reply as quickly as we can. But maybe we'll give out some free merchandise to people who comment. Not guaranteeing it because it could be breaking some law somewhere, so we got to look that up. But we're going to have our own merchandise. Again, you can find this on YouTube under Gail Force Creations. And again, if you like and subscribe, we really appreciate it. And you can find us on BitTube under Gail Force. You can find us under Steemit if you're into Steemit, and that's blockchain, which we're into.
Oh, we like
cryptos.
Blockchain.
We'll do some shows on cryptos if Bitcoin ever starts going. What is Bitcoin at right now? About $3,400? $3,500?
No, I think it's.
Okay. And you can find us on Facebook. Just do a search for Bring Back Liberty or Every Bit Matters on Facebook. And again, we love your comments, and some of our videos are getting some great hits, and we really appreciate it. And okay.
36.35, and Litecoin is at $34.44.
All right, and we'll take donations in Bitcoin. I don't have Litecoin in there, but if you want to give us a donation, I mean it's tough down here in Bunker Foxtrot. We're kind of confined, and we don't have a big crew to do research. Pretty much, Gail has to stay up, late nights and do research. But then again, he doesn't know if it's day or night because we're in the bunker. But we could use a few funds to keep the show and grow this show. And again, we appreciate all our listeners, all our watchers. And again, subscribe and like, and we appreciate it. And if you have any ideas on any shows that you want us to do, we'd love your ideas on shows because, we're neither really liberal nor conservative. I mean, we're definitely not Democrats or Republicans.
No.
We don't know what we are. I'm a radical capitalist. I'm not sure
I like silver.
He's a silver freak. And, we appreciate you watching our show. And again, I'm JD along with
Gail.
And we'll see you on the next show, everybody. Have a good one and stay safe. And thanks for watching us.